cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary.
Alright everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the year of the Jumper Punch.
Yes.
Talking to the legends.
Yes.
I've just made that up right now. That's what we're going to call this. And we have the great two-time premiership player, goal of the year, mark of the year, leading goal kicker, and all-time fantastic person, Peter the Bosustow. How are you, mate?
Thanks very much, Rock, and very good introduction. And you left about 6 or 7 things.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll fill in the gap.
VFL Team of the Year, All Australian. Not night premiership as well, mentioned that kind of thing. But
yes.
No, great to be here, Rock, and had a pretty bad couple of years, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But feeling a lot better now, and really looking forward to season 2023 because it could be a blue year. Could be a blue year.
Oh, I like that.
Let's hope.
Blue year.
We hope, yes.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into that. The last couple of years have been tough for you.
Yeah. Very tough. I've been battling rectal cancer for a start.
Yeah.
Metastased into liver cancer, and at the time they were saying, if you don't do anything about it, you might only have 3, 4, 5 weeks to live. Now, Vince and Rock, it's a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it, when someone says 100%. That what if I don't have it, what if I don't have treatment, etc. But the doctor that I did was outstanding. I had the 3 tests that they do, the bowel test, Vince, and the things they send through from the health department, which unfortunately at the time didn't work. And I just got to the stage where I was, very heavily constipated. The doctors were saying, use Movicol, use Laxets to keep you go. But it just got worse and worse. And my wife, Vince, my wife very well, and she sort of hounded me to, we've got to go and see the doctor. Went a couple of times, and he was saying, no, just use these Movicol, and you'll go. It got worse. In the end, she just said, look, you've got to go. And at that stage, I was about, I probably think 4 weeks away from maybe leaving this world. And so we went and had the colonoscopy, and everything come out from there. And they had to come in very quickly with treatment, which I was 6 hours, Rock, in treatment. And there's medicines, we could call it. It's poison. It's poison, everyone. That's what the chemo is. Sat there for 6 hours while other people were doing an hour. I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing 6 hours? They were doing 6 hours at a time. Very ill afterwards. I had it every 2 weeks, the treatment. I think I notched up about 4 or 5 weeks ago the 35th treatment of chemo. But Rock, it was working. It was working.
Yeah.
The cell markers went down. At this stage, the liver was completely black. And I said to the doctor, what's that in the corner there? That's your liver, and that's full of cancer. I said, 6 months later, he did another PET scan. Half of it was missing, so it was working. So what he was doing, he was double dosing me. But at the stage, they were able to halve the dosage, and I went down from 125 kilos to 68 kilos because of the ulcers in the mouth, Vince. I couldn't drink, I couldn't eat, and my wife would bring out a nice meal. I'd eat a pea and a bit of carrot, and that was it. And couldn't drink, so I just dropped weight. And
we saw we'd see the photos and that
on the Facebook, and my daughter was keeping everyone up to stage with the thing, and of course it just got better and better, and the dosage went down. The cell markers, which is very, very important, Vince, were coming down very, very slowly as well. So each treatment I had, it had come down from 28, which is quite dangerous, and about the 8th or 9th one, it come down to about 10, which I think is very normal. So we're winning the fight, winning the battle. The oncologist said, look, we've got to keep this going. So every 10th day of the 14 days, I fought it. You know, on my back and sleeping and, you know, not well. And 4 days I was up and good, you know, but I thought 4 days time I've got it again. So I had to put up with that. So anyway, to cut the very long story short, you know, I got to the stage where he was down to about, 30 minutes treatment, which was great. In the meantime, he sent me off and had 40 rounds of radiation, which was to clear up the cancer in the bowel rectal area, and that worked. So everything was good. I was getting a bit better, a bit healthier, and people were saying on the Facebook, "You're looking better. You're looking better." And the support that I had, Vince and Rocco, was outstanding, unbelievable. It was overwhelming. The Carlton legends were absolutely fantastic. Jezelenko and Kernahan and Kenny Hunter, and you know, but just well wishes helped as well, you know, and. You know,
so even those messages, like someone would say, mean a lot.
They were working. That's right, because
keeps your spirits up.
The oncologist was saying, Vince, stress, you've got to get it off yourself. You know, stress is a very bad thing. You know, with these sort of things, and you know, people ringing up, and you know, the Brucey Dools ringing up.
If stress wasn't any good, did you stop watching Carlton games at least?
Yes, that was probably. I had 3 or 4 TVs in that time, because I was throwing the remote at the family, especially those last 2 weeks, Vince. Oh my God, you know. So, but anyway, no, it's been great. I put on about 22 kilos, which David Parkin said, would you pass the skin fold test or would you not? I said, probably not, but I put on a weight which made me feel a lot stronger, and I was able to talk better and drink better, and you know, of course, it's just got better and better.
Well,
so
good to see you up looking a lot healthier.
Been across to have the Hall of Fame, Vince, which you know, you frequented, and of course the terrific life members, which was great, wasn't it? You know, and a lot of the guys I'd never met before, Rocco. You know, like the blokes like Lance Whitnell, and because you know Fraser Brown was there, you know, and we'll keep people like that, you know, come across, and even when I went to the club and picked up a couple of jumpers, which people want me to do. A couple of players come up to me, which was really good, you know. Good. Charlie Curnow come up to me, and Sam Moss looked me in the eye, and Buzz, it's great to have you here. And Vince, I did that in 1981. You know, there was guys like Big Nick and you know, Jezza, and you know, Bugsy Comden, and you know, the elderly people like Mackay and Dooley. I rubbed up against them, and you got an aura about them. You know, I think it's lacking. It's lacked the last 4 or 5 years, you know. COVID, of course, we couldn't get in and say hello to them, but I think we've missed that because, you know, it really helped me, you know, in those early days, because I come across here with, gee, am I going to make it? I'm playing it with, I'm teaming with guys like Dool and
had some confidence about you.
Oh, no, I didn't have that. I didn't in the early stage.
Tell us, now that you've gone there, let's just go quickly back to that. In a nutshell, you'd been playing for Perth Football Club in the late 70s?
Correct.
Mid to late 70s? And how did it come about that Carlton ended up recruiting you? Because I think there was another club that was after you at the time, wasn't it?
Well, North Melbourne actually signed me in 78 after I had that very good grand final in 78 where we lost Perth, but I kicked a few goals that day, and it was a torrential outpour of rain that day. And there was another bloke hanging around at the time that they were very interested in, a bloke called Ken Hunter. Have you heard of him? Yeah. What a player. What a player. Kenny and I get on very well.
He played for
Claremont. We were always against each other, and of course we always had that banter and that bit of competition. Oh yeah. Actually, Kenny played in a couple of academy squads in under 12s and under 14s at Perth before his family moved across to the Claremont zone. But we always had that marking, you know, and who was a better mark. And you know, Kenny was the most courageous player that you probably ever saw.
Unbelievable.
And, you know, he actually would have signed for 3 or 4 clubs before Carlton because he broke his jaw 3 or 4 times before he come over. You know. So anyway, they come over looking at Kenny, and you know, I had a couple of good games, and Keith McKenzie come across, you know the name there, Jimmy Ellison, who was the CEO at the time, and a big Wes come across, and I think 3 or 4 went saw Kenny play, and 3 went to see me play, and I happened to play a couple of very good games, you know, when they were over here. So that was mid-80s, Vince, and I played my 100th game the day they come over. I kicked 8 or 9 against South Fremantle, which had Morris Rioli and Stephen Michael and Benny Begun, all state players, and they were a very, very good side. So what they did then, and Vince knows the story, they flew me to Sydney because they played an exhibition game against Essendon and Carlton, and walked into the rooms and very, very, sheepish, and there's all the Brucey Dill was there, and Southby, and Jimmy Buckley and Mosquito Fleet was in the corner, and Jono and that, and I was very, very overawed. I don't get too overawed much, but this was very, very, inspiring, and we won the game, and.
People get that feeling around Reservoir when Rocco walks in.
Yeah. Well, they took me up to the Sir Donald Bradman events, and there was a brown paper burger alongside me, and I thought, I wonder what that is, and would you like to sign for Carlton, and up come the money. I looked at it. It was only coins, Vince, so it was, 1 cent pieces and 2 cent pieces.
Sort of thing you donated to.
Exactly, yes, and I did donate it, that's right. So I signed with Carlton and I said to him at the time, I've signed with North Melbourne. No, you're not. They've let your Form 4 go. They've given it to a guy called Phil Kelly, Vince, which was a Sandover medalist and played for North Melbourne, and Peter Spencer, who came across and played as well. So the door was open for me. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my father played for Carlton.
Yes.
Wore number 4. Didn't tell me that, and I didn't realise this.
Didn't you know?
No, I didn't know that at all.
He played 20 games.
20 games.
About 22 games, I think he played, and under Ken Hands, that great side in that team, and unfortunately left money-wise, went to Euroa, captain coach Euroa, won a premiership there. I was born in late 57 after the season, and my sister was born about 18 months later, and then Dad come back to Perth. So, so I got to the stage where, my career sort of ballooned in my late stage, Robert. I was never ever the best player. I never ever got picked in state sides, and never ever played in academy state sides and all that sort of thing. But I just sort of I suppose got the confidence about me. I could jump pretty well, and I started to take marks. But I went into a very good side. 1976, Perth, had a lot of elderly guys there, and they were very, very good side. They won that, and then 77 we won it. I started in 75, played 5 games that year, 16 the next year, and then 21 out of the 22. I'd done a hamstring, would you believe, late 77, and I was only a reserve for the, we won by 100 points. So 1978 come, and which was my fourth season, and had a very good season, kicked 70 goals from a half forward, and I think the VFL sides were starting to...
Reasonable.
It was such a great side, Vince, and this is what I'm going to get to at Carlton when I went to Carlton, and I picked Carlton because I knew that we'd won 79, which come about, and wanted a team with a great dominator, and of course Mark McClure, and of course very, very proud. It's probably one of the greatest half-forward lines at Carlton because it morphed into it. So as I said, 1980 come. Carlton wanted me to come across midway through 1980. Perth couldn't make the finals that year. I played nearly 100 odd games, Rock, so I think I was ready. My dad wouldn't let me go for a couple of years. Vince knows the story. Wouldn't let me go, and wanted to get used to the and play state footy, which I did, and played against Victoria. So it was a learning curve, and it was very well planned, because but I was still the erratic player, and a lot of media people said, can he make it in the best football in the land?
There's a couple of famous commentators who called you just a good ordinary player.
The great Jack Dyer.
Just a good
from 3 KZ's football.
I kicked 8 goals against Sydney about round 6, and he said, well, he's a very good ordinary footballer.
Exactly.
But, and then of course it come about that the opportunity was to come, and look, I still consider Carlton as the greatest sporting club in Australia, and I haven't changed my mind over the years. They've been very good to me over the last couple of years as well, and the boys have been outstanding as well. So we spoke about it coming in, didn't we, Rocco? The bonding, the camaraderie that era had.
It's amazing.
And Rock and listeners, I've heard of 55 of the 60 that I played with in that era, and that's to me is the respect they had for me, and I suppose the respect we have for everyone. There's a couple of guys that that I did. The great man Mario Bortolotto.
Yes.
Up to his passing, he Vince donated to me a couple of $100 every month, and I said, "Oh Mario, you don't have to do that. I'm okay. Buzz, I loved you. I loved being near you, and that was the sort of thing I think we had. you know, Brucey Dill. I've got to tell you the Bruce Dill story. You know, and
any
Brucey
Bruce
doesn't say much,
No.
and he was one of the first ones to ring me. And you know, his wife got on the phone. Buzz, how's the treatment going? And Bruce, I'm coping, and blah blah blah. And we just lost that money in that big scam, the Lease for Life,
Yes,
you know, which hurt us very much. So, and
Like a retirement
yes,
scheme,
it was,
wasn't
and you paid for your, you know, if you own the property, they got the money for you because, you know, and we signed a 5-year increment that we'd stay there for that long, and the money that we injected into it paid for the interest, paid for the, the rent. So anyway, Bruce would ring me and. 4 or 5 minutes, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't get him off the phone.
Oh, really?
You know, geez, you know, like, you know. I thought
Any
Kenny Hunter was
any chance of getting him so we can interview him?
no, I've got to get to that story in a minute, Vince. And anyway, he just said, how's the treatment coming, Buzz? You know, I'm coping, Bruce, and, you know, keep me in touch. And, you know, if you want me to do anything, and that was the attitude of a lot of them, you know, Parkin and Kernahan and, Bradley and, you know, and Peter Motley was ringing me, you know. It was amazing, the support. And anyway, I rang Bruce up, and Bruce had signed a print. You've seen him, Vince, what he does and the jumpers he signs. And I just rang him up, I said, Bruce, I'm coming over for a month because I'm getting to the stage now, I'm pretty good, and I've put on a bit of weight. He said, Buzz, he said, how's the treatment going, and what's the prognosis of what's going on? And I said to him, Bruce, it's fantastic, and the boys have been fantastic, and signing things without hesitation, Rocco. And I said to him, Bruce, I'd love to come across and take you, your wife, out for a coffee or a lunch or a dinner. He said, Buzz, I don't do lunch, I don't do dinner, I don't do coffee, and hung up on me. But I didn't take umbrage to it, Rock, because I knew that's what it exactly was. And I rang him the other day again, he said exactly the same thing. And I said, Bruce, I just love you. And he said, Buzz, we love you.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot, Doc. It meant a lot because there's Vince.
Yeah.
You know, I get emotional now talking about it, and I'm holding things back now. But the emotion that people, went through with me helped me enormously. It helped me. My wife, you know, she kicked my ass 11 times. I wanted to give up. I wanted to give up 10. You know, because I was just so sick and so crook, and going down, I was fainting. I had to be rushed to hospital, bashed my head on toilets. She's found me in the toilet, and that's how sort of But look, I'm not saying I'm the only one. I don't envy anyone going through chemo, and I know you've got your battles at the moment, Vince, and I know you're exactly know what I'm talking about. But there's other people out there, and the 6 degrees of separation, Rocco. You know, where people are, I've got a friend of a friend of a friend that's going through it as well, Buzz. But Rocco, I go to treatment. There's 10 or 12 in there doing the same thing, getting treatment, getting things stuck in their arm. 8 of them are not going to survive.
Yes.
You know, and I consider myself very, very, very lucky that, that I suppose the doctor thought he could probably put up with double doses and strong and, 6 hours, getting these things fed into your system, and just so grateful. And that's why I'm back here now, Vince. And, I'm seeing a lot of people that I didn't put a face to, but I only met you, I think, last year at one of the function where Vince was doing, and I think you said to me, I was still looking a little bit thin on it, a little bit, gaunt and that sort of thing. And, I was still in the fight then to do it. And as I say, Carlton were enormous, and I just got so much admiration for them. And, the guys like, David Parkin rang me every second week. Steve Kernahan rang me every second week. Kenny Hunter, they were good. I was sick and tired of taking phone calls, really, because I was crook at the time, Vince, and I was thinking, and my wife took a lot of them too. So that's why I so revere the club so much so. And of course, going back to what, we were talking about, signed with the club at that stage. Never regretted it at all. They wanted me to come halfway through 1980. I think, Vince, we lost.
So those years you could just come in in the middle of the year?
Halfway through the season, you could. That's right. You can sign a contract and sign a clearance, and you can either go back.
It rarely happens. But
I don't know. It happened in Perth. I don't know whether it happened much in Victoria. So they couldn't come to an agreement on the clearance, so I left it. The story goes that I had
Peter Francis. It happened.
Yes, that's right. Halfway through the last couple of games, started to play some very good footy, and I was ended up going as the red hot favourite for the Sandover medal. which is our big medal, the Brown Logan. I kicked 80 goals from centre forward on one leg. I had a little bit of a groin. I didn't tell Carlton that at the time. Had a little bit of a groin injury.
Centre half forward,
I
one
did.
leg,
I played
80 goals.
80 goals. Went to the centre medal, polled 5 votes. I went out of there. I kicked chairs over. I bloody upturned tables. I'm going to Carlton. And so stick it up, you ginger. 2 weeks later, Vince, the Perth fairest and best. Polled 7 votes, upended tables again and kicked bloody tables over. I'm going to Carlton, and you're not going to stop me. And of course, I think Jimmy Ellis was on the plane and straight away and we'll sort this out and sort that out.
So does that mean if you had won the Sandover medal and won the Perth Best and Fairest, you would have stayed there?
I only had 1 more year of a contract to go.
So you probably would have stayed there.
No, I don't know.
Could have cost you a premiership.
Yeah. I think I was primed to go.
Yeah, I think so.
Had a couple of interviews with Kenny and I saying, look, it's a great club. And
now tell us quickly, when you were recruited, you were coming to Melbourne.
Yes.
And you got a phone call from the coach.
Yes. Well, that's a famous.
What happened there?
Very famous story. As we know, at the end there, Percy was sacked or dumped. Was he dumped or excluded? Whatever. And of course, Percy said, if I had Bosustow and Buddy 180, I might have won the final grand final too. But anyway,
we'll call a spade.
Anyway, what happened then was
just the mic, make sure it doesn't
fall.
Oh,
that's right,
perfect, that's it.
And David Parkin got the job around about, I think, late November, Vince, or early December that he got the chore. And, I think he got the sack from Hawthorn.
He got that sack from Hawthorn,
Wasn't a great fit for us, though, and David Parkin.
Was it? Or wasn't it?
It was. The mentor, the man manager, the strategist, the all-round fantastic person, and loved his footy, We know the stories up to 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning because he only needed about 4 or 5 hours sleep, didn't he, doing these things. Anyway, what happened then was he took over. About 2 weeks later, he rang Kenny Hunter. And he said, Kenny, David Parkin, as you know, I've taken over the coach of Carlton. I believe you've signed with us and you want to come across. And he said, I want to try you on a half back line. Bruce Dool, Val Perovic and yourself. Ooh, tingling still goes up my mind when I'm thinking about it. Kenny said, look, fantastic coach, I'll be there in a couple of weeks, I'll just get things right. Fantastic. Rang me the next day. He said, Peter, David Parkin want to take over, and same thing, I want to try you on a half forward line. The Dominator Johnson, Mark McClure and yourself. And again, I thought, geez, fantastic, because I was sort of flamboyant and erratic, but I was never ever consistent. But this man made me consistent, and I'll get to that sort of later on as well. Anyway, he said, well, I'd like you to come over before Christmas. He said, look, I don't do Christmas pre-season. I'll do it myself. You send across the thing. My father had leukemia at the time too, Rocco, so we had a couple of sports shops, Vince, you know the story, and probably a lot of people know the story. So I said, look, I won't come across till you start the scratch matches because I'm that good. I won't need any training or anything like that. I think the boys copped hold of that, Anyway, my first night of training, late February, out of Heidelberg, the hills up there, going up the hills, did that all right. Now, I'd just come off a plane. And I thought David said, just have the night off, Buzz, and we'll train tomorrow. So I had about 4 or 5 Scotch and Cokes on the way over. Vince, I had the chicken sandwich on the plane. And anyway, about 3/4 of the way through training, they've done a tackling drill. Now, you know who I get, Vince? The Flying Doormat and Val Perovic. One's a bricklayer who's got hands like rocks. And the Dooley, of course, never
Dool's not going to get you
in a one-on-one battle. I said to Brucey, because he had to shepherd me off around these things, about halfway through, the big parents put me in a big bear hug. I think I must have blacked out for about 10 seconds. I crawled across the thing and I vomited everywhere, spewed over. And I heard a couple of boys saying, who the friggin' hell we got here? So that was my first introduction of thing. The scratch match come on the Friday. They picked me in the scratch match. We went down to Bendigo, Vince. We played Richmond. They bit, they bashed, they punched, they kicked, they did everything.
They just won the flag.
I rang my father. I said, Dad, they kicked, they punched, they think. He said, if you don't, adjust to it and start doing it yourself and get amongst it, you might as well get on the plane and come back. And it was the best advice I got. And the next week I puffed the chest out, and I think we played Essendon in that scratch match, Vince, and the same thing there. And got it. The third one was against Hawthorn, the last game, I took a couple of big marks, and they still haven't got my clearance by this
You're
stage.
the only player I know who remembers who he played in his practice matches.
Well, you know, that's the reverence I had of Carlton, because it was just such a.
So these are 3 practice matches leading up to round 1.
We got belted in every one of those wins. You know what we're like in those days. We couldn't win a scratch. I rang Dad and I said, Dad, these blokes don't bloody try. You know? What am I doing here? You know. Anyway, the best 3 on the ground block: Mike Fitzpatrick, myself, and Kenny Under.
Yeah.
The 3 West Australians, because we didn't know the the drill that. I'll tell you what, Rocco, they turned it around the next week. Anyway, I've run out on the ground on the next week. There's 77,000 people there. I'm shaking like a bloody leaf, because I'm thinking, I've just come from 3,000. Kenny and I played our last game. Good on you, Buzz. Good on you, Kenny.
You could hear the crowd.
You can just about name all the people.
I named them. There was Bill and Fred and Rita, and
That's funny.
And it was just amazing. It was a huge transference, and Carlton turned it on. I think we had 3 or 4 missing Vince Dominator. I don't think Harmsy played either.
Yeah.
And I don't think Curly Austin played. I think we had 3 or 4 out, but
How'd you go?
We wiped them. How'd
you go?
It went pretty good. It went pretty good.
Started off a bit scratchy.
20-minute mark at the first quarter, I didn't get a kick. I'm running around like a headless chook, and I was just overawed by it.
Of course.
And listen, I was just overawed.
No, we can't.
And about the 20-minute mark, I saw the little white fella coming across. It was a runner. And our runner, Bobby Lowry, never minced words in those days. He said, and I'd shot my mouth off and told everyone how good I was. Lou Richards come on the Thursday night, Buzz, we've heard you can do this, that and the other, and blah, 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 which I said, I can jump high as this, and he put it in the paper the next day, So I'm thinking, I still haven't got the players yet. I still haven't got, this big-headed bloody bugger from WA. Anyway, I said to him, I just can't breathe. I can't move. And he went back to David, and David said, look, squat down, take 3 deep breaths, stand up, take the crowd in, and go from there. And it was the best advice that I got. And and of course the rest is history. I had a fantastic next 3 quarters. I won the actual player of the round. They get a TV or something.
How many goals did you kick in that?
I kicked 3, but probably I laid off 8, 9, 10. And I think that's when I got elevated from a vomited person to his first game to gaining the respect of these guys, because I think David in the end. And it was a huge accolade. One of the best defensive forwards, that held the ball in, and with Johnson too was the same.
Of course.
And we crowded that very good. And of course McClure was, I think, one of the most outstanding centre half forwards, because he was the one that took people on for the Mosquito fleet,
100%.
plus Jono and I to get onto the ball and all that sort of thing. And he was the first bloke to take on 2. Remember the ruckman used to drop back, and I still remember the McClure battles with centre half backs, and Carey did it a couple of Billy Pickens, and Muse from Hawthorn and Langford's and that. But the team just blended, and then we got Harmsy back in, and we got Kenny Sheldon back in, and the Dominator come back in, and we just went from strength to strength. And I remember the first game out at Moorabbin, we're up against Jezza. Jezza had the captain coach of the St Kilda,
That's right.
and the Moorabbin was packed, and of course we got there about half time of the under 19s, Rocco, and they were out there, sprinkling
watering the
That was true.
Said, what's going on with
They
what's
only
going
had
on?
6 inches of rain the night before, but they're still watering.
That's true, man. This
of course,
is what they used to do those
It
days.
was a real quagmire. Wasn't it? It was a real muddy.
Centre square pitch, and was to slow us down, of course, and but I was still thinking it was a big game, Jezza, the first time against them, the captain coach, the last captain coach, of course, of Carlton, and of course in the VFL, and it was such a great occasion, and there was 40,000 we had from Raven. Next week, Rock, we go, I think against Essendon, there's 90,000 people there, and I'm going, what's going on here? Geez, people must love their footy over here.
You think so?
And it was just amazing. Melbourne, we played the next week, MCG, 90,000 people there, and I think we started to play a few Sunday games in those days as well, and people come from everywhere. And
you must have been getting used to the big crowds.
The
by then.
MCG, Rocco, was just an absolutely amazing arena, and I remember coming across in '78 when North Melbourne signed me, I walked up into the grounds. They got me a nice seat, and a couple of the other recruits were there. And I thought, bloody hell! I said, I know what the Christians like now. In those days, with the Lions coming, because it was a Colosseum to me, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And I think about half time, the seconds I got there, well, I still think there was about 90,000 people in there too, and they were drinking champagne and beer, and you know, and it was just amazing.
We love our footy.
That was just amazing. And, it was so good to be a part of, and I really now regret that I didn't play more than 3 years, you know.
Yeah.
And,
but we'll get into that because there was a reason.
So it was a fantastic introduction.
1981 was your first year.
Yeah. Do you want me to go game by game?
No. We haven't got time.
I reckon there's a couple of moments, but
Well, there were certainly a couple of moments that really elevated your standing in the game.
Yes.
You're one of the only players I know, if not the only one, to have won the mark of the year and the goal of the year all in the same year.
And of course, long from the premiership.
And both against Geelong.
Well, and leading goal kicker.
Yeah.
And leading goal
kicker.
Yeah.
Well, the mark come about the week before I was out against one of the sides, and Kenny Hunter took us to skyscraper.
Oh yeah.
Mark McClure was alongside me. He said, "Oh, there, bud, he's just wrapped the mark of the year up." And silly me said, "Oh, you know, hang on, I'll just sort that out next week. I'll fix that up next week," which is the game against Geelong. Anyway, the sun aligned and the moons aligned, the stars aligned, and around about 5 minute mark of the last quarter. Now, by the way, and Vince will know because he's a historian about this, Kenny Hunter was best on ground in this game. He took about 18 or 19 marks, held Geelong up all day. It was nip and tuck all day between Geelong. Because Geelong was second. I think we were first, you know.
Yeah.
Great game of footy, and of course the mark come, and you know, it was Johnny Mossop. Stooped in front of me, stood up, I leapt at the right time, and he sort of took me up like an elevator. I pushed the third floor, and you know, up he took me there. And I do know it was the third floor, Rock, because in some of the photos there's a waiter, and he was level with my head, you know. So I knew it was, you know, and just above me was the grandstand roof, you know. So I knew I was up pretty high.
You were up, man.
Anyway, and Vince knows the story, but what I'm going to tell. And in those days, you didn't come off the ground, you know, when you kicked a goal, you know, you had to stay on the ground. But the runner come out and says, "You're off. Phone call for you." Now, shit, I've broken team rules, and went to me laying across, and got to the boundary line. "Here you are, there's a phone call for you." It wasn't David Parker, and it was the bloody Melbourne airport. Those, "Can you keep out of the jumbo jet airspace?" You know, so that's the story I'll tell him. Half believe me, Rocco, but the other half are gone.
I was really getting into that story. I was all right.
But no,
it was a great moment. I tell you what,
great moment,
one guy we interviewed last year that said that I would have actually taken that mark if it wasn't for...
Wasn't David McKay, was it?
Oh, McKay, yeah, he reckoned you got in his way.
In his last year of football, he said, if it wasn't for my ankle, he said I would have been able to get a bit higher.
He pulled me up at the live members, and he said, I haven't even got a bloody drive of your car. I said, well, I didn't put a car, but...
what did you win for winning, Mark?
I won, I think, 10,000 cash, and I think it was $1,000 for the mark of the week, and I said, look, I pulled a $100 note out, and I said, you know, here. And he said, don't be so bloody stupid, you know, but... no, but I think I just got it. He steadied me, you know. He steadied me, and you know, and
well, McKay said that he was involved in two of the great moments of Carlton history. There was your mark, and there was Jez's mark. And
he kicked the ball.
He kicked the ball to Jez.
He did too.
And you jumped on his back for that one there. So
well, Big Johnny Mossop hasn't talked to me since. You know, so but you know, I'm still stealing the thing 42 years after I took it, and you know,
it was to me one of the really great things about that mark is where you took it. It was at the Robert Heatley stand right in the goal square, right in front of all of the adoring Carlton fans and the cheer squad.
Funny, Vince has said that.
Perfect location for it.
I was down at training on last Wednesday, and two of the great players come up to me. Charlie Curnow, which I love because he's a forward, and Sam Ross come over, Vince, and they spoke to me as if, you know, the respect and that, and I really appreciated that, because, you know, you have and all those players and all those teams have trailblazed, you know, for these current players to get their money and the kudos to the club and a great standing in the club. Anyway, about 15 minutes later, they took me up to the players' where they watch the footy, and Vince probably knows where, you know where it is, Rob. I'm sitting over leaning, and Charlie come out with Diesel. and he was doing some kicking practice and goal kicking practice and blah blah blah. And he said, he yelled out to me. Now this is something. Wow. It's my name, but it's to me it's really good. Buzz, there's the cross on the end of the goal square. This is Charlie Curnow speaking. Where you took that mark.
Oh, really?
And I sort of said to myself, I said, yeah, well, he probably wasn't even born by then.
No way.
And Diesel was out there trying. He says, Buzz, I'm going to sack Diesel. Would you like to come down and take me for training?
Well, I guarantee you that Charlie Curnow was not 41 or 42.
No. And I thought, but I think, and he said to me, I think he said, Fossy's just showed us about 4 or 5 of your clips. Before again, I thought, okay, and I think he knew where the mark, and Vince just explained it was on the end of the goal square, and if the cross is not there, I go out with my, I mark it, so
don't worry,
I don't remind too many people about that, Vince.
Don't worry, mate. The Carlton supporters don't forget.
The goal of the year was in a final,
second
semi-final against Geelong at Waverley.
Correct. Yep.
Now, just tell us about how that came about.
Similar thing against Geelong. I think they kicked the first 3 goals, and it was about I think the 18-20 minute mark, and David sent the runner out and said, look, we've got to tighten up, and next time the ball comes in, we've got to put the forward pressure on, and Jono and I, of course, were the two. And just go back a little bit, Vince. The reason why we're a good tackling side is that David brought in a couple of rugby coaches that taught us how to tackle properly, and that's why I think we went from a probably a scragging type team to a really good attacking, and anyway, as I said, that went on, anyway, do that, do this, and do that, and we want something from you, that was from David, of course. Aligned again, into the pocket, over the top of I think it was Swan Mackay's head. Yep. Into the pocket. One of the Leyland brothers picked the. I think it was brothers. Sorry. Picked the ball up. I dived from about 40, 50 feet away. Vince, all right, 20. Okay. And smothered the ball. Yeah. It could have rolled out, Vince. Could have rolled out. It couldn't have been talking about it now.
That's
of
right.
As fate would have it, the ball was
landed virtually by me. Yeah. And I thought, well, I used to run at 110 seconds in those days, or 11.5, and I thought I was way in front of these people. I was just going to stroll in and kick an easy goal, But they were coming at me. I thought, well, I've got to throw it onto the foot, see what happens. It missed the post by about 6 inches, and it curled around the post, got up, I saw you, man. Done the double fist pump. The Dominator come from about 40 metres away and bloody poleaxed me. And then McClure come over and said, get up, you bloody plunger. Up I got. And of course, then there's Jeff Southby often said to me, he said, Buzz, that was the fillip we needed to
spark the
to get us going. Yeah. So,
and what did you win for goal of the year?
Just progressing. We had plenty of players that could do that, Vince. Wayne Harms could do it. The Dominator could do it. Brucey Dool with a punch or a thing. Kenny Hunter with a great mark. Jeff Southby with a 75 metre torpedo. We had a lot of players in that side that could do it. And I talk about it and I flamboyant it a bit, but I've just got so much respect for that side because we had a fitted side that was just we had our bloody oath, didn't we, Vince? We had our scallywags. I remember the day that we second or third training session, big training session. We went down the pub. David Parker went by, and everyone was waving to me as we went by the pub. We all went down on the beach and all that sort of
stuff. Down at Norton's Hotel in
That's right. But you know what, Brock? We could play footy.
And that's the whole thing.
Footy, and that was the whole thing. And David said to us,
and on the ground.
So
you played hard off the field.
It was an amazing. It was. That's the one. It was an amazing side, and we bucked up again in '82, and we'll get to that in a minute as well. But '81 was such an iconic year because we probably should have won the third one. That should have been the 3. We went very close in '80, Vince, didn't we? And with that
should
side,
have been 4 in a row. That's right.
Yeah. Well, they tell me that, and I don't know whether Vince and the listeners know this, but they tried to recruit me in mid '80. And I told that little bit of the story before, and because of Jono not missing, and we said, look, we need another half forward, but the sides couldn't come to a clearance, and I said, well, look, next year, different year, and we start again fresh.
Who knows? That could have been the difference.
Yeah, well, it may well have been.
Well, the thing is, if we had won in 1980, they probably wouldn't have got rid of Percy Jones, and you wouldn't have got David Parker.
Percy said, as I said before, if I had Hunter and Bosustow in that 1980 side, it might have been a kettle of fish, and he may be right, but you know, and that's why I said
There wasn't much strategy about Percy Jones. More just come on, boys.
Again, it was a great side, Vince, wasn't it? It was virtually the side
they
of
coached themselves just
well, 79 was their. People say to me, we're very lucky to win 79. Well, I've watched the 79 Premiership plenty of times, and it was a seesawing type thing. And you know, was it out? Was it out? Was it in? Was it out? You know, Carlton people, no, it was in. Collingwood people, yeah, it was in the first, you know, the first row of the grandstand. You know, we love doing that to Collingwood people, don't we?
Yes.
But anyway, you know, and that you know, it was a quagmire of a ground. You know, the rain and all that sort of thing.
Nah, you're always.
It probably wasn't the suit us, did it, Vince, with our mosquito fleet, but they did play well that day.
Well, Harmsy always said that they were never going to lose that game.
No.
He goes, I know we won by 5 points. He goes, but we never felt like we were going to lose that game. You know, I mean, Jezza really worked them hard there.
Yeah.
But tell me something. You get there and that first grand final, 1981.
Yep.
Yeah, what does it feel like?
Do you believe
Unbelievable.
it? What's going on?
Unbelievable. Second semi-final, I think we won very easy. That was the day that you know, we kicked, I think, 19 or 20, and they kicked about 11 or 12. And you know, we were primed. We were primed, and you know,
Geelong, wasn't it?
It was Geelong, yeah. 4 or 5 of us kicked 3. I think I kicked 3, and Jono kicked 3, and Harmsy kicked 3, and just a good team, solid effort, you know. And David Parkin used to say, 10 of our champions will play well. It's what the other 10 do underneath.
100%.
What you do.
I agree.
You know, the B graders have got to go to B plus, and you know what they do. You know, and you know, Vince will probably get to this very quickly, and I'll go to it now. I had a very quiet grand final.
Yep.
But I still did a lot of the 1%ers, you know, the blocking and the tackling, and you know, they didn't rate Bosustow's performance in that game because they didn't see the freak goals or the big marks or whatever. Right. But I had my job to do, and we had 4 or 5 in there. We mentioned one just a while ago. Mario Bordelotto did a fantastic job on Peter Moore, you know, and
Scotty Howe,
you know, Scotty Howe, you know, and you know, unbelievable, you know, and I suppose you sacrifice your game for that. And we'll get to 82 in a minute, because I just rate 82 as an unbelievable performance, and we'll get to that in a minute. But running onto the ground, absolutely fantastic. I didn't think that was the year Vince, the big manor fell over, and the girls, I can still visit the young girls when it snapped in half, because they put a lot of time and effort into it, you know. And we said, don't worry, we'll run through it and all that sort of thing. And you know, so it started off when we had the umpire, I think it was past now, the Jolly, was it Umpire Jolly, who in the end was a. Oh, hang on. Yes, it was.
In 82.
81. No, 81. 81 was
81.
I can't remember who the umpires were, but anyway.
Well, next year was Rowan Saws and the great Aboriginal umpire.
James.
There's some great stories.
Glenn James.
Glenn, fantastic, yeah.
Some great stories about him.
One of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet, Glenn James.
And the game, Rocco, was very, very seesawy. 81, very seesawy. I remember on the ground, the Collingwood chant went up. Collingwood, and I thought, oh, yeah, we're in big trouble. And that's when Parkin sent the runner out. I need you to do something, or someone else. Harmsy stood up, did that great solo. Jimmy Buckley, I think, kicked one just before half, and we pulled it back from 21 points, Vince, to about 10. David Parkin comes screaming down, they're gone. They stopped. He
convinced you all that they were just shot to pieces.
Now, we kicked 4 goals, 11, I think, in that last quarter. If we had kicked 11-4, we would have bloody smacked.
You know what we kicked in the end?
12-21 or something, or
12-20.
12-20,
92 to 10-12,
10-12, we had.
We came back from a very significant deficit.
We did.
In all our grand finals.
And kicked about 6 goals to nothing in the last quarter, I think.
We were behind in all the grand, in 79, 81 and 82.
Well, 82, you know, was.
Well, you started well in 82.
The 5-goal haul in the third quarter when that Richmond tried to sneak another Prima, we'll get that in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute, everyone. It was fantastic, and the siren went, complete jubilation. Everyone, you know, embraced. you incorporate all the staff, and David's staff. There was about 4,000 people in his staff. Rocky, didn't he, Vince? He had a stats man, he had a towel man, he had this, he had that. But the people revered him because he was just such a communicator, and he was a great manager. And it was just
passionate man,
very, very passionate about what he did. And we had a fantastic time, and all through the next couple of weeks. I'm starting on next year already, and we're going, oh, come on, coach, geez, we want to have a couple of beers.
Celebrate what we just won.
That was how methodical he was, Vince, and that's why he's very successful.
But most premiership coaches, back in those days, when they look back on it, they say, you know what, we should have celebrated more. I was even Wolsey after 87. Hardly let him celebrate before all of a sudden it was on to 88. And,
did he? Was that the Battle of Britain that year, or the 86?
The Battle of Britain
was 86. Oh, 87, because they went across. That's right there.
But anyway, you must have felt like, how good's this? I've won Mark of the Year, Goal of the Year. I'm leading goal kicker for the club, and I've just won a premiership medal.
How easy? How easy is this?
I don't know about easy, but how good was it? And just the admiration. That look, you step back a week. We had the grand final week, the Brownlow medal. Now, there's a story of the Brownlow medal.
Did you score any more Brownlow votes than what you did back in WA?
Which I'll get to that. I'll get to the function. One of the umpires comes up to me. I don't know who it was. He said, "Peter, I know that you've done yourself out of 2-3 votes because you were very lippy and you're very yappy, I said, well, that's not me anyway. Ashley's going to bolt this in anyway. Now, in those days, Vince, they counted the ones first, the 2 second, and the 3s got third. So anyway, halfway through, Ashley's on about 16, 17, but we're thinking to ourselves, hang on, he should have got a lot of 3 votes, Anyway, halfway through the night, and I said to the umpire, don't worry about it, I'll get nowhere near it. If I pull a vote, I'll be happy, Anyway, I'm 7 or 8, with the 1s and 2s. Halfway through, there was a block of about 8. Richmond versus Carlton, 3 votes, K Hunter. Richmond versus, Carlton versus Melbourne, 3 votes, P. Bosustow. Carlton versus South Melbourne, 3 votes, K Hunter. We're thinking, but he actually's not polling the 3 votes to get him to that next level. Anyway, Kenny and I have sold another. We sold 3 votes now. I've gone from, I think, 7 to 16 or whatever it was. No, I went to 18 because I think I'm only a 3 vote off. Anyway, I'm getting a bit nervous. I'm going, shit, I might be the Brownlow medalist. Kenny wins it. He might be the Brownlow medalist too. But we're thinking Ashley's going to poll one and go in. He got another 3 votes. Went to 20. Barry Round, Vince, and Calvin won up with 21. And of course, Kenny and I had gone. Bernie, sorry, I was Bernie, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I walked out and I thought, oh no, we're probably going to Ashley. Ashley won everything that year. He won the Truth, Vince, he won the MVP, he won everything. He was absolutely brilliant. And I often say it, people say to me, how many superstars do you have in your sidebars? I said, we had one. They're all probably thinking, oh, you're saying yourself, And I said, well, it was Rod Ashford. Ashley was just so good, and he had the helmet on all the time.
He stood out.
I just felt so downhearted because he should have won, and he should have won the next year as well because he followed pretty consistently. But I think he had a few games off that year, Vince, with a concussion. But no, that was a great night. We go to training the next night. There's 15,000 people at Princes Park. We hear down the road there's 20 at they hated football, didn't they? The Melbourne people.
We get 20 at
Thursday. Just unbelievable training run. Virtually half the ground, 3/4 of the ground was packed. And it was just so exciting, because they brought I did the one-handers and all that sort of thing, to spin the ball on the thing, and the basket.
I thought you remember the
how did you know that? Anyway, such a great, in the parade the next day, and of course the game is on the Saturday, and for us it felt fantastic. So. Then the next year come as well, and we we're very, very lucky to
win it again. Let's now. You play 4 years or 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
65 games.
65 games. 146 goals.
Vince saw all my 65. How lucky he was to see all my 65 games.
We were all lucky to see the 65. But what happened? How can you just why are you leaving us?
Well, I have to go through 82. 82 was such a sensational year because you get Rocco, you get hunted.
Yeah.
You know, you go from the 100
Yes, that's right.
and then you go to the 100, you know.
Yeah.
And David Parker knew that, Vince, and he said, we have got to get 20% better. I've got to bring other players in.
Yeah.
But he didn't, Rocco, because we only had 2 changes, I think, from
the 81 side to the 82
David
side.
Mackay retired, yes,
Correct.
and so did Greg Wells.
That's right.
Now, Greg Wells was a sensational
And
player.
Scotty Noble play either.
And Scotty, and I think we bought Clompy in the next year.
Robert
Anyway,
Clomp,
we'll go through the season, and we had to, be the that's correct, yeah. And then 1982, we were the 100, and sides were playing a lot better against us. You know, I think, Vince, correct me if I'm wrong, we lost the first 2. I think Fitzroy beat us. No, we might have drawn
you
that
drew
one.
against
we
Fitzroy.
drew Fitzroy. We kicked a point virtually after the siren to level it with them, yeah. And then the next week we had the bloodbath against Essendon out at Waverley, you know. And I still remember the game well. I kicked 3 goals for, hit the post 3 times. Wow. 3 times I hit the post, and in the end we were hovering around about a goal and a half. Now, in my time at Carlton, in scratch matches, in buddy night games, I never was in a winning side to play Essendon. But Essendon couldn't get near us in the final.
Had the wood over us.
They did, exactly, yeah. So they beat us.
Including in 1981 where they came back 23 points down in time on to win by a point.
Oh, don't wake that up, please.
They had the wood on us.
Yeah, they did.
Could beat us.
82, I think then, Vince, I think we won the next 8 out of 10. So we went from probably mid-table, which is about 6th or 8th, into the top 5 in those days, you know. Our main guns were coming back, you know, Harmsy was coming back, and I think Jeff Southby was in and out, so we were getting to the stage where we were going to launch another attack, you know, at the flag. But we weren't playing well, Rob. We weren't playing well because we thought, well, we'll just go through the motions. We were winning the games, and, you know, and because you get to that stage where you think, do you really want to go through this again? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. You know, so
that's the attitude.
As we got through towards the finals, we started to click up again, and but we finished third.
Yes, that's right.
Richmond was so vastly superior than us, you know, and we had some good games.
They changed coaches that year to Francis.
That's right. That's right.
After Tony Jewell,
we got to it wasn't the prelim in those days, Vince. Was it? Was it qualifying? No, it was a qualifying game.
Qualifying we beat
which we thrashed Hawthorn.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jono and I got reported.
Yes.
Jono got 2 weeks for backing David Polkinghorne, who.
Lucky you lost the second semi, otherwise Jono wouldn't have played the grand final.
He crushed the code, didn't he, Polkinghorne? He actually said that Johnson whacked me.
Yeah.
And of course it was a no-no in those days because we sort of So you're right, Vince. John, we had to lose the second semi, which we never looked like winning because I got a week for swearing at the umpire, which I still. Not guilty of, but anyway. Yeah. But we wanted Jono, of course, and we did that. Then we played the prelim. Shocking game, the prelim, wasn't it, Vince? It was I think it was 2 goals each to 3/4 time, and it was that sort of game between the 2 back lines, and none of the forwards produced. And in the end, I think we won by 20, 25 or something points, didn't we, or something? I kicked 2 in the last quarter, and I think Kenny took a couple of great marks, and Dooley stopped everything again. So we were right. We had Jono in, and I think Jono had a bit of a Richmond jumper on that day.
He would have been.
Sorry, a Hawthorn jumper on because he wanted to, for us to win it. But, and of course, what a shame would it have been if we hadn't have been. Of course, Jono wouldn't have been a part of it.
It all worked out perfectly.
Oh, it did. It did.
So we went in as underdogs in the 1982
absolutely, Vince. Yeah, very, very much underdogs.
And we came out like a bullet out of a gun.
Guys, I've watched that game
3 goals
over again. Yeah, we kicked the first 3 goals in 10 minutes. David, his first mistake that day was he left me on the bench for about 3/4 of the first quarter. I said, Dave, wouldn't you bring me on? Come on. But it was a sort of a ploy that Landy had my measure 2 games before. He didn't know what to do, and so he picked up, I think, Jimmy Buckley, and Jimmy was whacking him all day, and then I come on because Rossi Ditchburn got poleaxe with a foot. I come on, and of course Ross didn't come on for the rest of the day. Rocco, no 100 interchanges in those days.
That's right.
And then, as you remember, Vince, Kenny Hunter got an absolute shit mixer from.
Doesn't remember the game.
And he does not remember the game.
I can't believe he kept playing.
Well, as David Parkin said to me time and time again in the future, concussion protocol, wouldn't have been come back on the ground. So what a travesty it would have been to us if Kenny hadn't come back on the ground. And he played an unbelievable game, but doesn't remember it. But I watched that game and
forward line that
day. He did.
Yeah, well, I give him one. I took a good mark and handled that over the top.
I actually do. Yeah, you gave it over the top. Yes.
And if you remember, he was the one with the ball in hand when the final.
Yes, he was.
Well, the third quarter, Rock, was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were, I think, 15 points down at half time, and they looked like they were going to run away with it. Our great skipper took over. Took a couple of great marks, kicked a couple of great goals. Mike Fitzpatrick. The girl come on the streak and come on the ground. I think
where were you at that time?
I was very close to her. She was coming to me next, but
Brucey got it in.
No, well, she made that was another bad mistake. Bruce doesn't talk to anyone, so I don't know why he went to him.
That's right.
Went to Big Wow, and Wow got a bit spooked, but
John O got
up there and went off the ground. But I think that cost Richmond.
Now the big question about this girl, Helen D'Amico, is did the curtains match the carpet?
The map of Tasmania was quite clear. That's right. Yes, it was. Yeah, but we carried on with the game.
Yeah.
We kicked the next 5, and we went from I think 14 down, Vince, to about 14 up.
Yeah.
Richmond wiped that off in the first 2 minutes of the quarter.
That's right.
So it was just a slog. This is what I'm getting at. This side, this great side, had the know-how, found a way. Exactly, Vince, and. We lost our skipper at about the 18-minute mark. Rolled his ankle. So we had no interchanges, and of course nothing. Then the great side took over. The half-back line, just closed down. The forward line functioned really good. We were tackling well and keeping them at bay and that sort of thing. We kicked the odd goal to just kick that.
The McCombals, the Alex Marcus, they all chipped in for a goal.
And that's where the uncompromising players come into it. Marku took over because he's still speedy at the end of the game, where people think, wow, was still 7 foot buddy tall at during the game. He did a great job. I often said that to him.
Playing the forward line.
Yeah. And he released Fitzy to play in the forward line. But see, that was a ploy, Vince, to play against Lee, because Lee often was belting our little blokes, And David knew that, and that's why Wow got him in the first couple of minutes. Got reported for it, but he said I didn't worry about it.
In the end, 14-19, 103, 12, 13, 85.
And you know what it was?
3 goals.
It was at the start of the game where it finished.
100%.
So the rest of the game was played on an even.
They should have just stopped after the 4-minute mark.
That's right.
Value of
the game was great, mate.
Yeah, it was. I remember.
The crowd was sensational, and to play against an opposition like that too was just unbelievable. I love playing against the big.
Well, you played against Collingwood, and then you played against Richmond in the two-game final. Oh my God!
What's better than beating Collingwood at by a point? Beating them by a point at Victoria Park. Jimmy's Buckley said to me, Buzz, get off the ground. Don't procrastinate. Sign autographs. Take your selfies and all that sort of thing. So I thought, I found Big Wow, and I'll come off the big ground with Wow. The chest was pumped out. It was just it was a great 3 years, and 83. We get a bit disappointed again because we probably should have. Finished a lot closer. We got beaten, I think, in the first semi-Vince. I think I copped a 4-week suspension for whacking.
The elimination
final. Sorry, we played with Essendon before that, the week before, didn't we, Vince?
Something like that.
Yeah, and then we played them again in the elimination. Yeah. Unfortunately, I copped a 4-week suspension, which I still, this day, it was a reflex action. The bloke pulled me. I sort of turned around and just happened to hit him on the beat.
You got him on the chin,
The boundary umpire said it was, Your Honour, it was the best king hit I've ever seen. I've just slumped in my chair, but I've gone, And correct me if I'm wrong, it was Gaffney was the
umpire?
The chairman of the Gaffney or something. Gaffney or anyway.
Can't remember.
And I thought it was a bit of a not a hanging.
15 at the time.
Not a hanging judge, but I thought to myself, geez. And I was up on another report too. I'd whacked to Gary Dempsey. I've got 4 weeks. I stayed in the room. I'm thinking to myself, how come John Law's come in, and it was exactly how he said. He said I pulled him back. He was leading. I copped a stray fist, and I happened to hit him on the beak, and didn't come off the ground, no blood, all that sort of thing. And this umpire, said I turned around and King hit him, and the three judges are in there too, and they're listening to what I'm saying to the advocate, you know.
So that's why they give you 4 weeks.
Well, I don't know. The 4 weeks was given before that, but they brought Gary in, and Gary said he'd never hit me, you know, and blah blah. That was dismissed, and they had to, you know, shunt me out of there. And I thought, because at that stage, father was having transfers of what they call it, transfusion, sorry, with his leukemia with the blood, and I thought this could be my last hurrah, you know, in Melbourne, and you know, I got pretty emotional about it, and Carlton said, look, we've got to get you out of here. The cameras were everywhere, and they ducked me down the side thing and got me out of there, and they sent me up to Gold Coast just to get out of it, get out of it, which helped, and went to the game thinking, come on boys, like a Jono, come on boys, come on. I don't know what we got, beaten. We got convincingly, I think, didn't we? So that was a bit of a disappointing end, so.
And then you went back to...
Went back to Perth, went back to Perth, and had to serve 2 weeks, of course, of the...
Was that the end of your contract at that stage?
Yes.
The 3 years?
Yes.
So they hadn't renewed your contract during that year?
No, they hadn't, no.
Okay.
They were going to.
Right.
But as Dad got worse, and in those days, Rock, we didn't know how severe leukemia was.
Yeah.
We had 2 sports shops at the time. Dad was running virtually both of them. And I've got it back now that stress is a very, very ugly thing to have with blood, or if you're in, of course, medication, or you're having, you know, treatment, you know. And of course, Dad was a worrier, very much a worrier. You know, he planned my career out pretty good, and was absolutely halfway through the season, playing pretty good footy. They picked me in the stateside to go to Adelaide. Carlton rang me and said, "Do you want to come back and finish the 84?" Which was that. Halfway through the season, you can get a clearance and come back, you know. So I said, well, you know, we're not going to make the 4 here. Perth said, that'll be good, you know, you can go back across. Do you know, Rock, it was over bloody $5,000 for clearance. Perth wanted 25. Carlton was only prepared to pay 20. And I said to Colo about 10 years later, after he told me the story, I said, I would have put... Carlton wanted to give me 50 grand, and I was going to be the highest paid player in Australian football, you know, because that was only for about 8 games, 9 games. And, but as you know, Buzz will make it up in the gate because the Buzz is back, and we'll do big things with it and all that sort of thing, you know. So I said, yep, I'll come. Vince, I've gone out to the airport with 2 great big packages, all my clothes in it. My wife was going to come a couple of days later. Woke up that day, the stateside was going to Adelaide the next day. Bosustow deserts Perth. Big headlines in the paper. So I got to Adelaide, the cameras are everywhere, and John Todd was the state coach, and they're interviewing him. What about Bosustow going back? He said he'll play for Western Australia first. Whatever he does after that is his own thing, you know. Vince, I've got to be blunt about this. If Carlton had to come and grabbed me, put me on a Melbourne plane, I would have gone to Melbourne, and I would have let them fight it out. They never did. I don't know why. The manager of the stateside said, "Well, look, go back to Perth and let them fight it out from there." And I shouldn't have made. I should have. My father, in the end, because I was playing still great footy. People said he had an ordinary 84. Well, I got picked in the state of origin side with all 10 or 12 of the West Australians in Victoria, and I was one of the 6 or 8 that come from the Waffle. So I must have been playing all right to play the stateside. And it was the game. I did a silly thing. I did a very silly thing. I kicked 3 goals on Bruce Dool. I think it was Peter Knights. Then I got Bruce Dool sent on to me. I never got a kick for the rest of the game because Dooley. That was
that sounds more believable.
The bloke called Gary Ablett kicked 9 goals from his wing.
That's right.
He was unbelievable. I had so much admiration for him, and he's actually been on my Facebook, and he texts me every couple of weeks, see how you're going, Buzz, and all that thing. And I've got so much admiration. Anyway, unfortunately, the clubs couldn't come to an agreement.
Over $5,000.
It was all over $5,000, and I said to Colo later, I said I would have put the $5,000 in myself. And I said that on an interview with Mike Sheehan, and probably one of the biggest regrets I've had. You know, the other one was Vince's. I couldn't sit in the grandstand and look at myself, playing footy. That was
but you can see yourself on the big screen,
That's right. Oh, that's right, of course. But no, it's I'm a bit blasé there, folks. But No, that sort of ended it. I, as you know, I put my bloody hand through a plate glass window.
You did after that.
You know, when people say you're a traitor and you're this and you're that, you know, and I think I kicked 8 goals in one of the games, you know, towards the end, and we got lost by a couple of points. Oh, you're a traitor, Bosustow, and all this sort of thing, you know. Got up the end of the road. We had those shower screen buddy things that separated the coach from the players, and I whacked the screen. I got it in, Rocco, but I couldn't pull it out.
And
Because I sliced everything, wiring and that, yeah. So that was the end of '84. I got it stitched and got it done. 5-hour surgery. Apparently, I believe the best hand surgeon in the world was visiting WA and at the hospital at the time, and he did the operation. And I was right to go virtually the next year because, as Vince said, I severed tendons and nerves, and you know, and he stitched it all up, and that's the thing there. And I went through my thing and pinged this, and you know, so you know, I've got sort of no feeling in the hand, but you know, I've got sort of power on that. Yeah, so there's some disappointments towards the end of the career. I tried to play another couple of seasons. Robert Wolf took over in '86, where the great players come over, Kernahan and Bradley, Johnny Doricic come across from there, David Bruce Jones, so and they invited me back to train, you know. But the dilemma was who got number 4.
Yes.
And of course they say
there's another player there.
If you make the, you know, if you're okay, you'll get it. And I said, well, Sticks will probably get 44 because he's twice the player I had anyway. So, but you know, and speaking of Steve, he's been one of the most enormous helpers of me, and you know, we've gone through the number 4, you know, and we often banter, you know. Vince knows the story.
Both of you are both in awe of the best
exactly.
number 4
Well,
of all.
that's probably a good way.
Yeah,
I said to people, who's the greatest number 4? And I said, Vinny Cotoglia.
Actually, do you know another famous Carlton player who wore number 4 for a very short time?
Bosustow.
That's it.
And Aaron Hamill.
That's right.
I run into Aaron at a...
Only for 1 year.
Yeah, he did.
That's right.
I ran into him at because he's a coach, of course, at the club, and I said, Aaron, I don't rate too many people, but I love the way you played your footy.
100%.
And I actually said to Brucey, you know, do you know the story about Bruce, why he didn't like the number 4?
I do.
Because it was down where all of the stars were.
Well, no,
he didn't want to be in the limelight.
I think he was talking exactly. He didn't want to be in the limelight, so he. I think
what they call Hollywood Boulevard between 1 and 9.
That's right.
The single digit numbers.
I think Big Nick was number 2, of course, at the time,
right.
And I think Kevin Hall was number 3, and City Jackson number 5. All the stupid. And he was not happy, not comfortable with it at all. But I tried to get back in '86, trained for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and last training session I virtually stood in a hole coming across back from Royal Park there, Vince, you know, sprinkler, and it just wasn't the same. Carlton tried to get me back all of '86 and '87, and that's why I revere the club, Rob. You know, they stuck by me. They you know, and in the end they said, Buzz, we don't want your if you want to call it glamour or your legacy to wane if you can't come back and do the things you do. But you know, I really wanted to team with Kernahan and Bradley, and you know, Silvani was just coming up through the time, and Reece Jones was there, and I thought it was going to be another dynasty, Vince. And you know, we were very unlucky. '86, I think we copped that very hot day, didn't we? I think, Vince. And in '87 we won. It was great. You know, it was great. You know, and I think we only had 3 that come from '82, Vince.
Yes.
The Dominator, Glazer, and Kenny.
You know,
and so Donna, everyone had virtually, you know, in 4 or 5 years.
They turned over the list.
5 or 6 of them went to St Kilda, didn't they, Vince?
Yes.
You know, Alex Marcoux and Wow and Peter McConville and
that's right.
You know, a couple of others and a lot of retirements, of course. And I was amazed because, you know, in those days, some 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds, Rock, had 3 premierships before they got to 23 or 24. So I'm thinking, how good are these guys, you know? And there was a lot of them, you know, Marcoux and, you know, Ashley and, you know,
Sheldon.
Bruce. Well, Bruce was 4, of course. Sheldon and the Dominator and Mark McClure, you know, they all had 3 premierships before, 100%. You know, and, which was fantastic, you know. So they knew how to play footy. Jimmy Buckley, of course, another one, you know. So
just before we finish up, I was trying to get you to tell us about that Mark of the Year or Goal of the Year where you Kenny Hunter got it in 1993.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't carry on with that one. And I got to the stage where I said to McClure, you know, and I said I'll fix this up. And we're in the stand, you know, ready for game. Mark was back, so was I, and Kenny took. Kenny had another brilliant day. He was BOG. He was absolutely unbelievable again. And you know, I think Vince. I may have played with some of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah,
You know,
that era.
Bruce, I just highly revere, and Kenny. You know, Kenny was built like that.
Yeah.
And some of the courage that he used to say, and I remember that game, is he was floating back into packs, and the packs would crunch him, he'd get up and shake himself off.
What I'm alluding to here is the nature of the prizes that you got sort of escalated 2 years later.
Well, 1983 come, and Kenny took a great courageous mark heading back into a pack, got the mark of the year on Channel 7. I won the mark of the year on Channel 2. I took a big mark over Justin Madden. Now Kenny says there was no one in the pack. You just jumped because Justin was by himself. Justin actually pulled me over at the big. He says, "Buzz, I've still got the bloody hospital bill where you broke the ribs in that, and jumped on me back, So I pulled out a couple of hundred. I said, "Here, pay for that, bro." Just as a multi-millionaire, I think, as we all know. But fantastic guy. Anyway, as I say, Kenny, often says to me, he says, "I did offer Buzz, when I won the car, when he won the Molten Star bike on Channel 2." And he gets a lot of banter.
You can ride over to my place and watch my car,
and he can watch my car anytime. That's it. Yeah, you see that's how I can do it. But no, it was.
We finally got it out
here. He finally got it back on me, I think, because
fantastic. Well, mate.
All right.
We'd love to keep chatting all day long, but we haven't got forever. But look, it's been a fantastic career, and you'll always be remembered and revered at Carlton. And that was three of the most exciting years we were part of, and in no small part thanks to you.
Well, I was very lucky, Vince. I think it was a fantastic side, and I've mentioned that before. And we had scallywags, we had superstars, we had champions, we had legends. Who come through and got that accolations and accordances later. And David Mackay just been elevated to legend status, and people coming into inductees, and with the Hall of Fame, and I was so privileged to play in that side, and again, as I said, we had our idiosyncrasy people. I was one of the biggest. I often tell Kenny, you were the extrovert and I was the introvert, and he said, hang on to people. He say, wasn't Buzz the extrovert? I was the introvert. Exactly. But we had our Jimmy Buckleys and real scallywags, and I've never seen on things on football fields that I saw it. When Jimmy and Buckley went into a pack there, Rocco, but they were very well respected. Often people 100%. Say to me, Jimmy Buckley, and when Jimmy and Jono are around, we had our Peter McConvilles and we had our Curly Austins who did jobs for us as well, and it was such an all-round side.
Yeah, 100%.
And I get the feeling, Vince, we may be close now.
I was just going to ask you that. Where do you see Carlton now?
I was disappointed last year, as we all were, when we went out in those 2 games at the last ones. But we never had the experience when we had back with a Fitzpatrick or a Southby or a Dool or a Swan Mackay or whatever, Greg Wells, who steadied the ship and all that sort of thing. Cripps is a great player, but we need someone around 100%. Him to be experienced with him to shut a game down. Yep. I only wanted to play 1 game last year in the finals to get the guys used to it and know what's coming ahead, right. If you know what I mean.
100%,
but it didn't happen. But as Vossi said at the Hall of Fame, it may put us in tremendous stead. I'll tell you what, Vince, if they don't, they're not footballers, are they? Because that should have really hurt.
And I think we're going to do something this year.
So. We lost certain players at certain times. That really cost us. Georgie Hewitt. Love the way he played footy. He was playing outstanding footy at the time. Walshy was sort of in and out. And he didn't. Cripper. A couple of times he played injured. We've got to look after him. I remember our great captain, Chris Judd. Was always blocked at West Coast Eagles. That's how we wanted Brownlow. You gave Juddy that little split second, and he was off. And Cripper, if we give Cripper half a step, he's going to murder you because he's such a Goliath,
he's our leader.
And finals or bust this year, then.
Oh, look, it has to be, doesn't it? It has to be. No, but I'll be there supporting the guys, and so you two gentlemen.
Well, Buzz,
it's been a pleasure doing the jumper punch.
It's been great to see you, and good to see you in much better health. And
thank you, mate.
Thanks again for being our guest on the jumper punch.
Thanks, Buzz. You're a true legend, mate. True legend.
Go the Blues.
Go the Blues. I will fight, never wary. I wanna be legendary till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never wary. I wanna be legendary.